What's up, everyone? I'm James Baney, and I am here to do a spoiler reaction of The Bad Batch, Season 1, Episode 7, Battle Scars. Here we go. I got a couple questions for you guys at the end of this video. Some stuff that I thought of during the episode. But so stick around to the end. But if you could, just give me a like right now on the video. That would be helpful. I would appreciate it very much. All right, so the first episode of Bad Batch that has officially been longer than the previous episode. I've noticed a lot of people talking about how we started at like an hour and it's just continually gone down. And I think last week's episode was like 23 minutes or something. This was back up to 27. So, hey, like Obi-Wan says, we're headed in the wrong direction. We're supposed to be going up, not down, right? So yeah, I liked this episode a lot. Now, that being said, I will say I don't think it was as emotional as I was building it up to be, because I knew that whole Wrecker thing was going to happen. We had talked about it last week. Come on, just get it done with. I'm glad that it happened now. But overall, just in general, I absolutely did love this episode. And I thought that it was the first one that has really, I don't know, I felt like had a lot of heart in it, to the extent of us being able to kind of tell a story without it really needing to be like some side story or some separate mission. This one, to me, just like from the very beginning, was like, here's what we're doing. Here's the story. We are going to go through the process of getting rid of these inhibitor chips, and it's going to focus very much just on our core characters and telling a story about how they're getting from point A to point B. You know, that obviously involves Rex, right? So, because we went through season 7 of the Clone Wars and Rex had gone through the whole situation, which, in my opinion, again, and I know it's Rex and it's not Wrecker, was significantly more emotional when that whole thing was going down. But we get Rex back. He obviously has a lot of problems with the fact that they still have the chips in their heads, which is interesting to me because they're clearly acting normal, and he's like still getting ready to grab his gun. I don't know. He said it's extremely rare, but has he found, how far is Rex on his journey? Has he already found other clones that were unaffected by it, but then all of a sudden switched? That's why he's like, any second they could go off. Or is he just completely traumatized by the fact that in a moment everybody's went off and it went that quick? I don't know. I'd like to find out if Rex has encountered other people with this. But as of now, we got to assume that he has not. You know, it's just kind of emotional trauma from Order 66. He takes them to Braca, which is cool because it's funny. I actually looked this up. I was like, oh, it's from Jedi Fallen Order. That's neat. The scrapyards and stuff. And it turns out it was actually technically in Resistance Reborn was the first appearance of this planet. And I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I kind of thought of it as Jedi Fallen Order coming over, but it's actually more like Jedi Fallen Order brought up this other piece of canon and this other planet from a book. So that's kind of interesting little fact. But yeah, they go to this planet because that is a place where one of those ships is going to be, that Rex was at his ship out. So the whole process is most safe here. And I don't know. I like that they made sense of a place that we've seen in canon a few times. I like canon continuity, you know, or like when they make it so that they take something from somewhere else and bring it into established world. It feels like a crossover kind of thing. I mean, they could have went to any other new planet, but for the purposes of just like finding a ship that has a thing in it, I like the continuity there and going back to a planet that I feel like we've been to a couple times, and it's neat to see it in this new like kind of illustration. You know, another thing I had to look up is when Wrecker's, you know, hanging from the thing and the squid tentacles and stuff are coming to get her, I was like, oh, another piece of continuity. That's cool. That's the thing from The Mandalorian. And then it turns out that's not. And I don't know. I guess I was just thinking it was very similar because the mouth was coming out the bottom or whatever. But it actually turns out what we're looking at is a Dianoga. And I was like, oh, that's weird. Have we ever seen the bottom half of a Dianoga? And I don't know. There's a picture on Wikipedia. Apparently we have. I don't know. I was like, that's kind of interesting that that I was sitting here thinking it was a callback to Mandalorian. It's actually a callback to A New Hope. Pretty neat. In typical Star Wars fashion, you know, they get Wrecker there, and they've had plenty of time. I mean, we're including who knows how long, like weeks they've been, you know, going through this process. But they set him down, and they're like, all right, we're going to do this in the next like 5 minutes or whatever. And that's the moment that his chip goes off. I have no problem with that. I think it's dramatic, and it's, you know, fine. But it is just such a stroke of bad luck that they're like that close to getting it to happen. I think, man, it was pretty cool the way they do that sound effect, suck all the air out and stuff, and he goes for the throat hold and all this, and the actual process of him switching over was very believable. Like I don't know, I just something about like you're in direct violation of Order 66, the way he goes after his fellow clones and stuff, you know, obviously fellow Bad Batchers. And now I believed totally that he had switched. The only thing was that I was waiting for some bigger emotional impact, especially since they've obviously been setting it up. And they even in this episode alluded to like how close Wrecker and Omega are. So I was like, man, I know they're not going to like kill Omega or do something, but like, is he going to like significantly hurt her? And he really didn't do anything. He just kind of like came up on her or like scared her, chased her, I guess. But I was thinking maybe he was going to hurt her, or maybe she was going to have to hurt him. She was going to have, like, they got really close to her pulling the trigger. And I was like, oh, she's probably going to shoot him. I was like really debating with myself. They're not going to kill him because he still feels like a significant member to the show. And this is too early to kill off Wrecker. If they were going to do it, they were going to do it later down the line. I feel like that might even be out now, that Wrecker dies. I mean, it's always possible that he dies, but I would have thought that if they were going to kill him off, it was going to be chip related. They were going to be like, we had no other choice. And part of that too, even after the turn, they, you know, Rex saves her and shoots him or stuns him or whatever. They get him on the thing and she's like, no, I'm not leaving until he wakes up. And I was like, oh man, I bet they're going to go through, a little montage of how much time has passed, and they're literally going to have to like say, he's not waking up. That's it. There's nothing more we can do, and leave his body. And I was like, I was at this point, like picturing so much stuff. I was like, oh my gosh, they're going to have this emotional, like he died, he never made it out. And then we're going to have to guess whether or not he is ever coming back. Like, it would be kind of neat for him to come back, you know, so many episodes later. And they could still play in like multiple things. Like, he could be totally fine and come back. He could still be Order 66 and come back. Although, what was the point of this episode if he was Order 66? I guess to just separate him from the group or something. Anyway, they didn't do that. He just kind of woke up and he's like, oh, I'm fine now. And I was like, okay, you know, his Order 66 thing, I think could have been a lot more emotional. Somebody could have really got hurt, and it could have legitimately, like, I mean, it would have been, it is his fault now that it happened to some degree. You know, I know he really doesn't have a choice, but I don't think there's like this crazy emotional impact that he's always going to carry the weight of the fact that he like switched when he really, like, nothing big happened. He just factually did switch, and then they fixed it. So I don't know. One piece of information that I thought was really interesting, and maybe this is just because now that he's fixed, and he obviously still has the same brain, like he can remember how it went down, and he's putting his own thoughts on that process of being out of control. But he says, I tried to fight it. Like I did everything I could to make it stop, and it just wouldn't. And it made me think, is that conscious? Like, is that really conscious when you're going through the process? Like, does that kind of mean that every clone right now is aware of what they're doing and doing everything they can to make it stop? But they're just on the ride, and they're like, my body doesn't do what I want it to do anymore. I don't know. I find that kind of interesting. Just that kind of philosophical backup for a second and just be like, oh, that's interesting. He's saying he was there, he was present, he was trying to make it stop, and it just wouldn't stop. His body was just going without him. And I was like, man, are all these other clones doing that, or is that something that just kind of happens? Like he's going through the process and he's totally cool with everything, just because it is how he's thinking currently. And then after the fact, if that kind of control gets removed and he's able to be himself again, does he then just kind of like project his personality on something that he was out of control of and be like, yeah, I remember I was there, I remember what happened, but obviously that's not me? And I don't know, just some sort of like mental click or processing of what happened. I don't know. I'm talking probably too much about this. I just found that particular line interesting, and just not deeper ramifications for what's going to happen in the story, but just deeper ramification for understanding what's going on. Maybe when a chip is going off in your brain and you're being controlled in your thoughts and stuff. I don't know. I found that interesting. Overall, that is my basic review of the episode. I like I said before, I think I was picturing something that could be really impactful to this series. About 7 episodes in, that could be pretty cool. Shift it up, make a big change. I definitely think that it was a solid episode, 100%. That we did what we needed to do, and it was a little bit of a more story related rather than that serial type of story that we've been getting so far, and I like that aspect of it. But I wasn't as emotionally moved by that turn as I thought maybe it was. Maybe that's because I just knew it was coming, and we talked about this last week. But that's going to start my questions for you guys. The number one question to me is were you emotionally moved by that turn, by that moment when he's there and he has no control, and you actually, did you fear that something bad was going to happen to Omega or to him? What was going through your mind when he went through that turn? The next question I have for you guys too is, like, we saw Rex in this episode, and I was like, awesome, now Rex is going to be here with us, at least to some degree. And it looks like he was in and out, bang, done. So my question for you guys is, are we going to see Rex again? Is he going to show up in the series? Or was that just a way for them to kind of be like, well, we have to get the Bad Batch's chips out. Let's bring in Rex. It'll be a cool episode. We'll get to see him again. Rex will then have shown up in the Bad Batch. That's neat. And we can move forth. Is Rex out of the Bad Batch? Are we ever going to see him again? I don't know. You let me know. The last thing I would like to ask you guys is, now that the Scrapper Guild has kind of squealed on their location, do you think that is going to bring in Crosshair again? Do you think Crosshair is going to be the one that answers that call? And in the next episode, do you think that he returns to the series to, again, they've had a few episodes of no Empire entanglement, if you will. And now that the Empire is clearly going to show back up, that's what they're teasing. Do you think it's Crosshair that's going to be the person who shows up and again resumes his hunt of the Bad Batch? Personally, I think so. I think that's the way they're going to go. But I would like to hear what you guys thought. That does it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave the answers to your questions in the comments below. Again, leave a like. That means a lot. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, that's right there. That's the big one. If you're watching this video because you wanted to see someone talk about the Bad Batch because you love the show so much, we the Star Wars Newsnet and Resistance Broadcast talk Star Wars so much on this channel. We regularly do 2 hour-long episodes where we're discussing all sorts of theories and news and everything on Resistance Broadcast. So if you're not subscribed to the channel, please do that. We dropped an episode yesterday. We got another one coming Monday. And I don't know. Just check it out. Hang out. That's it for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and see you next time.